Well, here we are back at it again. It is the Hilarious Humanitarians Podcast, this time with video that you can't see, and Deanna and I can hardly keep it together. Hello.
Hey, Frances. How's it going, guys?
Well, this is a whole new endeavor for us because, as you know, we're on podcast number, are we on number 7?
What?
This is on number 7.
Wait, yeah, it's 7. Wait.
You'll have to excuse us. Let me paint the picture of what's going on now. So first of all, we had this great plan in doing the podcast.
7.
We're 7. There we go. Lucky number 7, which almost didn't happen because Deanna's city caught on fire, which we're going to get to that in a moment. But we had this great idea. We would go ahead and get us some microphones, get us some quiet time away from the children. And we were going to try and do this for real. And then all of Southern California caught on fire. So here we are sitting recording on our brand new microphones for podcast number 7, and Deanna's pants are inside out, which I can see on video.
Yeah, and also if you can see on video that I'm not in my closet anymore. Yeah, so I am in our guest bedroom that's now empty because we evacuated because of the Ventura Thomas fire, but also because when we came back to the house, unfortunately, I already know a few people whose house burned down, so we've already gotten rid of our guest bed that I'm going to give away. So it was kind of one of those opportunities where I'm like, wait a second, am I going to be transitioning from the old master closet landline? It happened that quick. Episode 7, I already have my own home office. And then in terms of, wearing my pants inside out, which Frances can see, like all week, like we're still packed. All of our stuff is still in the car. And I'm like, I just took a shower, but then I had to like put on dirty clothes. Here we are. I don't have underwear on. Did the old put in dirty clothes on after you take a shower. So we're putting these shits inside out. Oh, I'm delirious. I can't. Oh, yeah.
So we were talking about off the air how we were going to handle this because it's happened here. Our home bases are in California. I'm in Fresno. Deanna is in Ventura. We both work in our respective areas of mental health. And it has been, pardon my language, just a shit show in California with the weather and fire season going into December. But we thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about what life is like in crisis, and from a perspective of really kind of getting some clarity on what's important, and then also about how communities can come together to be supportive of one another.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our takeaway. So Deanna is on that end, and you've been keeping people kind of up to date on what's been going on with your Instagram too.
Yes. So on Monday, when the fires broke out and we chose to voluntarily evacuate, because when it all broke out, it was really scary. We could see the flames from our front yard. And then I just decided to just update everyone, because a lot of people on the Hilarious Humanitarian Instagram know that I live in Ventura, and they naturally were reaching out to me, and I'm like, this is probably a good time to let people know that we are safe, but everything is just still up in the air. Like even today, the fires broke out almost a week ago, and the winds picked up last night really, really bad. So, I mean, I'm looking out the window, the sun's already set, but you could still smell the smoke. It's pretty scary.
People, I think, sometimes have played the game of like, what would you grab in a fire? What did you grab in the fire?
So I'm already laughing because if you do follow the Hilarious Humanitarian Instagram, you'd see the hashtag jar of pickles that I started. So I've never evacuated before. This was the first opportunity. So I did the old like grab everything that kind of would be a huge pain in the ass to like replace, like social security cards and passports and yada, yada, yada. And then of course I'm grabbing pictures and whatnot. But because we were so proactive, let me tell you how proactive we were. So the electricity went out before I even knew there was a fire. I'm like, what the hell? I called my neighbor. I said, what's going on? She said, oh, just step outside and look to your left. You'll see flames. I'm like, what? So I stepped outside and the winds were going like crazy, like 40, 50 mile an hour winds. So I step out naturally in my pajama dress with no bra or underwear, flopping all over the place. Look to my left. There are flames going. I said, oh, fuck, nope. And so I just ran inside and I said, we are packing our shit and leaving. I don't even need to know where this is going to go. This is like scary. Having a 1-year-old, let's go. So I packed up all the like important documents. And then I was like, wait a second. We're being so proactive. We got some more room in the old minivan that I'm like, I'm going to start packing up Micah, my 1-year-old, all of her clothes, all of her toys, all of her books. I'm like, hell no. She just had her 1-year-old birthday party. All these gifts are going with us. And I purposely did not pack any of my work clothes because fuck them. Like, but I did pack.
So if you couldn't, like, if you got called into work, you'd be like, I don't have any clothes.
Sorry.
I got my pajama pants and no bras.
But like all of my like an archive of comfortable pajama pants from Target were coming with me. Every pajama yoga pant. I left behind every bra. I don't need those.
It's an emergency.
Yeah. Then I started like getting crazy because I'm like, wait, we still got time. So then I went into the master closet. I'm like, oh yeah, my grad school textbooks that I spent like $5,000 on that I never read, those are coming with me. Like, I'll be damned if those go up in flames. And then last but not least, as we were leaving, it dawned on me that my husband went grocery shopping like 3 hours before the fire broke out, and now the electricity is out. And I'm like, oh, no. He just spent like $200 on groceries. Oh, no, you better get the cooler. So I start packing up. Like, there was a big roll of cookie dough. I'm like, that's coming with us. I don't care if I have to eat that shit raw on the side of the road.
I'm going to eat my feelings.
Yes. And then one of the last things in terms of food that I brought was a jar of pickles. And I wasn't prepping my husband. I wasn't, talking out loud.
Where was he? Is he just watching crazy? Like, what is this woman doing? I'm going 100%. To get out of the way.
Yes, 100. Like he was like off to the corner, just giving me these eyes, like in the dark. Like, you just tell me what to grab and I'll go. He knew to get out of the way. But as we were leaving, he's like, I'm really happy you pack these jar of pickles because these are emergency essentials. It's like, you're going to be eating those words and those pickles tomorrow, and you're going to be thanking me.
And how long did the pickles last?
Oh yeah, we blew through those like in 2 days. And so my husband's actually like gluten-free, not because it's like cool and hip, but because like for decades, like if he eats gluten, his like nose bleeds and it's really scary. So and my daughter she's 1, so I'm not giving her a bunch of like crap food. So like I honestly baked all like 45 cookies. I gave Micah 1. My husband doesn't eat them, so naturally I ate like 37 cookies in like 24 hours.
It's okay because you were stressed out.
Hell yeah, I was stressed. Oh my God, how terrible. This has been awful, but
it has been. But I have seen the outpouring of support of people on your Instagram. And then also kind of, we were like, now let me give you the perspective of this side. I'm like, hey, so are we going to record a podcast? Is your house standing? Like, not to be a pain in your ass, but
those new mics that we just bought last week, did you leave it behind or what?
I kind of have to schedule this, so.
Are we still friends? Did I offend you?
So I'll give you like behind. So I do radio in the morning. I have a partner. He was asking about something. I don't know. We were talking about something off the air when I was at work. And he was asking me about the podcast because he's being supportive of this. He loves this and I love it too. And he goes, so when are you guys going to do your next one? And I was like, well, like the house caught on, the area caught on fire. She had to evacuate. And he's like, well, but like how serious is she about the podcast?
Jesus.
You insensitive dick. But seriously, like how serious are you, Deanna?
Because we'll see how serious she really is. Come Sunday.
She'll wear dirty pants inside out.
Yeah, you better get him on the phone. You better show him these inside out dirty ass pants I'm wearing right now.
So as we're getting it set up, the reason why I noticed that this is going on is because Deanna got up to shut the door or something. And I was like, that's a tag. That's a tag on those pants that I can see. And I've done that. Have you done that when you're just like, this is the sign of my life falling apart? When you get to work and you realize you've been wearing your underwear inside out or, inside out all day. And now you're like, well, fuck, I'm committed.
Oh yeah. How about, I've done that. I can't, when is there a day that I'm not wearing my underwear inside out really is the real question here. But have you ever like come to work, not to stray too far from the topic,
because that's what we do.
Yeah. But, I many times actually, like at least 5 or 6 times in my life, I have gone to work with the tag still on my clothes.
Yeah.
Hanging off. Or the best part is where you buy like new yoga pants and you're out in public and it's the long sticker that just has the like XL. And you're like, oh great, cool.
We are going to get to the topic again here in a minute, but to bring some levity to it. So really quick, it was a couple of weeks ago. So I teach at Fresno State. I was wearing a dress and it was the first time I'd worn a dress on campus. And I'm like walking from the staff parking lot, which by the way, highly coveted parking spots because you're not having to park way out in BFE, right?
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, teacher.
And
teacher,
I'm carrying
professor of parking, right?
Right. I'm carrying my bags and I've got my hands full and I'm like, all right, I just need to make sure that my dress doesn't ride up one side, right? So I've strategically placed my hand on my left side and I'm walking like I've got my act together. First of all, I never feel comfortable on campus, period, but I love it, but still. Anyway, I'm walking, I got my stuff together, I get to the building, and I go to start up the stairs, and I went, well, shit. Like I had pulled down the one side so much that the whole right side, my thigh, my butt, everything, just like out there for God knows, walking right past the gym, right past the ROTC.
Like you pulled the dress so far to the left, it was like riding up on the right. That is, oh God.
I don't know how many people saw, I don't know how many Snapchats I ended up on that day. I just am like, okay.
Check this professor out.
How does that go on Rate My Professor, really?
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So, we try and pretend we got our lives together, but we really don't.
Going back to Drew, your radio partner in the morning, I do want to bring up at least one more story about the fires and what you grabbed and what you didn't grab. Right, exactly. When we came back to the house, honestly, the house looked ransacked by me, when I was packing us up. But a couple nights ago, my husband was in the hallway and he calls over to me and he's like, how are you going to, look, I cannot believe you left Paula behind. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And as it turns out, I left because I actually packed up my collection of like concert posters and autographs that I've been collecting since I was young. I'm like, these are not going to get burned. No, they're coming with me. But I did accidentally leave behind my Paula Abdul autograph from 1992. Behind that autograph, I'm going to lose so many followers. I can't believe I'm even going to tell this story. Was a Mark Hamill autograph that I have, Star Wars. If anybody out there has no idea what I'm talking about, which would have been me, because
you had to remind me because I've seen one.
Yeah, so guys, please don't leave us. But here's a confession. I have never, this is Deanna, so I don't want anyone like pitchforking Frances, but I've never seen Star Wars. And I happen to have a Mark Hamill autograph that I received from, I don't even know the story. I got it when I was a baby.
It's even made out to you.
Yeah. Like it says, Dear Deanna, galactically yours, Mark Hamill. So when I told Frances this story before the fire broke out that I had this autograph, I've never seen Star Wars, she was like, oh my God, Drew is going to lose his mind.
My co-host that we talked about.
Yes, like he's going to lose his mind. So then to add insult to injury, I left the Mark Hamill autograph in the house on accident. So had our house burned down, I'm not proud of this. I am just giving everybody this story to like, I don't know. I fully regret saying it now, but we were like, how do we tell Drew this? I am committed to this podcast, but I'm not committed to hurting feelings.
So just so it turns out, if I know you have 2 of them, if you want to send one my way, so I can
Why do I have two of them? Oh yeah, I have two of them because my brother got one. And
they're both made out to you.
No, the other one's made out to my brother, Daniel.
Daniel's close to Drew. Let's cross out Daniel.
But here's the thing. My husband's name is Daniels, and he loves Star Wars. So now I keep him.
So,
oh God.
As we're moving forward with the podcast and what happens when Southern California catches on fire, apparently Deanna does not care about Star Wars. But my co-host Drew is like a Star Wars nerd. So
does he know this yet? Does he know this?
I wanted to call you on the air and have you tell him next week when the new movie, actually, by the time the podcast airs, Star Wars will have come out. So
okay. I want to just let me know when I need to call in.
Yeah, he's going to die. He's going to die.
Yeah. So these fires, I mean, when I was telling Frances, before we started this recording, and I just made a phone call to my friend, Bethany, actually, who's a hairdresser, hairstylist. What is the proper word? I should text message.
Hairstylist.
Did I just say dresser?
Yes.
Am I like 87 years old?
Yes.
God. So hairstylist here in Ventura, who's doing a lot of fundraising. I was telling both of you, like, in the past on my Instagram, when there was natural disasters, whether it was like the flooding in Houston, Hurricane Harvey, right?
Yeah.
God, my brain is not working. The Santa Rosa fires. I jump into action like immediately. Like the day of the disaster, I'll be on my Instagram fundraising and helping people, promote their GoFundMe page or whatever. But I think because I have been personally impacted by the fires, first of all, my brain is just not working. I'm wearing dirty pants. I can't find my deodorant. My bra is gone. I've been eating like when you Google like how to cope with natural disasters, like I literally have a list in front of me, like avoid fried foods, bad food. I'm like, I've seriously drank nothing but Coca-Cola, cookies, and a jar of pickles in the last 48 hours. I don't know how I'm producing milk anymore to nurse my child. You know how many people are going to like write me and be like, you are a horrible nursing mother.
Well, it's not alcohol, so there you go.
That's true. Where am I going with this? Oh, so I want to fundraise. And I've had so many people reach out to me on Instagram this week. I mean, really, there's like a few times where I was like tearing up in my bed, just thinking about how much support has been offered to me and my family. And people are just asking like, what can we do? When are you going to start fundraising? And I am going to do something. It's just been like, I can't believe how long it's taken me to get my head wrapped around all of this. And I think partially it's just because the winds are so high. Things are so unpredictable. Like, we're evacuated, we come back a day later, 2 days later, and then we almost got evacuated again, and now there's fires kicking up again. So it's just, I don't know.
Did you have a moment of self-pity in all of this?
It was fleeting, but yeah, I mean, but I corrected myself pretty quick. I'm not above it. We just bought this house. Oh my gosh, it was a year today that we moved in. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a first-time like home owner. This is our first house. Our daughter was born a year ago. So obviously there's like a lot of memories, and we were delayed by like 4 or 5 months. I gave birth to my daughter and we were living in a hotel. Like,
oh my God, tell that story really quick.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is really quick. When I was pregnant and we had just moved to Ventura, we were renting a house and my daughter was due in October. Well, our lease was up on our rental in October. And I asked the landlord, hey, would you mind extending the lease? Because our house was supposed to be built at the end. We were supposed to move in the end of September. So if all the planets aligned, it would have been fine. Like the lease was up, but we're moving into the house. Well, the house was not ready until December 10th. My landlord refused to extend the lease because she was retiring and wanted to move into her home, which I understand.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that she would look at me with my 9-month belly and say, okay, maybe we could even be roommates for like a month or two.
Is that asking so much?
Yeah. Well, the answer was no. And so because I work in Ventura and we don't have any family or friends, we had no one to stay with. So we moved into a hotel from October 1st until December. And I gave birth October 25th. We, Tessa, our dog, our 100-pound Rottweiler, Dan, my husband, myself, and our newborn went back to the hotel after we gave birth and stayed there for a month and a half until we moved into our house. It was a capital FUCKING nightmare. And I'm pitying myself even now. And I tell my husband, like, at least we should be grateful that financially we could afford to do this.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
But I'm allowed to be pissed off. I'm human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I was pregnant. I had a beautiful baby shower that we just got so much like love and support and gifts. And when I was pregnant, people would say, "Oh, are you nesting? Like you're setting up the nursery?" And I'm like, "Nope. Actually, all of the gifts went into a storage unit." So I had nothing. That's about it. Anything that it was like we evacuated again. We were like in a state of living in our car. It was bad.
I think that's worth bringing up because, like you said, you're fortunate enough to have the house in the first place. And then also, you were fortunate enough to put the family in like a hotel. And I certainly don't want to make people feel, everybody has their struggles, right? And certainly that there are worse struggles to have than that.
Right.
But it's honest to say that we have those moments, even if our lives are pretty put together and we're really thankful. There are times I think where you are lying to yourself if you don't express a little bit of self-pity, right? That woe is me. And I feel like you can, I had a client at the rehab tell me this, and I think it was best. He says, don't overstay your welcome at your own pity party.
Totally. So I love that because there were a few times this week where the thought would cross my mind where I would say, I would just be sick. Like, I have been nauseous for days, and that could just be the smoke in the air, but
or it could be the pickles, the Coca-Cola, and the cookies.
I never thought about that.
I mean, not to be a buzzkill.
What the hell kind of laugh was that, by the way? Okay, I'm a mess. Yeah, so there were times where I would think, I'm going to be so... There are no words at how upset and the self-pity I was feeling about the thought of this house burning down. And then my mind would immediately go to like, well, at least you haven't been in your house 45 years where there's all these like antique items and 45 years worth of memories, and these people's houses burned to the ground, or, oh my God, their animals were killed. So my pity party that I threw for myself did last for about like 5 minutes, but then I would kind of just get out of my head and immediately go towards how grateful I am that our house is still standing today, and that I'm in a position to like get rid of our guest bed and other items for people less fortunate and just like focus on that. So your client is totally right. I love that because it's okay to feel upset and feel pity, but we got to move on. You can't stay there. You're going to piss everyone off around you.
Right.
Sorry. I'm a little uncensored, guys, today, but come on.
I like this version. It took us 7 episodes to get here, but I like it.
You know what? Actually, my friend, I was talking to her yesterday. She goes, I love your podcast. I was listening to an episode and you said, Deanna, you said, excuse my language, but this is bullshit. And she's like, I cannot believe that you just excused yourself to say bullshit. Because like off the air, I do cuss like a pirate. I'm kind of all over the place. So as I get more comfy, I will not be excusing myself
and
say bullshit.
So behind the scenes, I do the edits of these because we want to make sure that we sound somewhat professional. And I'm listening and I'm like, that explicit label we have to put on here is all because of me.
And
so I need you to even it out.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So I'm just finding my footing. So I'm going to start dropping those F-bombs. Sorry, I'm so lame.
So we talked about the fact that, yes, people are going to have a pity party when things are coming up. And then I think it's important. I think if you pretend that that doesn't exist, then you're just lying to yourself. And one thing that you and I kind of pride ourselves on in this podcast is to be really real. And the other thing is, so something I've realized I am the most, I'm sorry, I'm watching Deanna like position herself and roll around on the floor. I don't know. Video's a good idea.
When are we going to get to a point where like our listeners can watch this? Because
Never.
they would be like,
never.
Yeah, like
never.
I'm out of here. I thought these people were professional. I'm like doing like roly-poly exercises on the ground.
It's fun. But anyway, what I was going to say, I've realized in my life that I have become the most obnoxious, realistic cheerleader you will ever meet. And I tell my clients like that. They could give me this scenario of this most horrible situation that's happened. They've relapsed. This has happened. And I'm like, well, did we learn a lesson? Okay, cool. Let's not do that again.
Right.
Because I think that's what's important. You said, you experience the feelings, but then you have to look at the silver lining. And sometimes that silver lining is, well, if the house burns down, at least I'm going to lose my Mark Hamill signature, but I didn't lose the pickles. Right? Like you have to find that. And sometimes it is such a struggle to find the silver lining. But I really think that most situations have them, even when you're in the absolute depths of the shit that you're dealing with, there is something that you can get from it. And I think that's important to bring up.
Right. You do have to find the silver lining, or you don't have to, but it's definitely a good way to cope.
Right.
And it's just been so difficult this whole week. But in my experience of just going through really, really shitty, scary times, like when my mom died, for example, like when she was alive and going through cancer treatments, I would envision, like, what would I do if she died? And the vision I had for myself was like, I'm not going to be able to survive this. There's no way. I will not be able to even go to her funeral. I won't be able to talk to anybody. I'm going to be hysterical. I'm not going to be able to survive. And then it happened and she died, and I don't know where I got the strength from, but it was just in me. I was able to speak at her funeral, and I didn't die, and I did survive. And then when I think about how my life went from the point of her not being here anymore, like I even tell my clients sometimes who have also lost a loved one, and they continue to use that as the excuse of why they continue to use drugs and why they continue to like just, it's just kind of like all circled around like this complicated grief reaction. And I would tell them like, listen, I'm not trying to minimize your pain in any way, but giving up is pretty simple. I could absolutely have said, screw it. I don't want to live anymore. I can't go on anymore. If our house burned down, like, I can't function. I'm not going to function. What's left? Like, I just cannot do that. Like, I can't do that for myself. I can't do that for my family. When my mom died, she wouldn't have wanted that for me. So it's just like, you just have to pull yourself up and make meaning out of all of this shit that you go through and create a more positive narrative for yourself. Like, and I'm not trying to be like super therapy, like therapizing the whole thing and making this feel like cold. It's true. Like, you have a choice. This can drown you, or you can grab whatever life preserver is out there, whether it's a neighbor or yourself. Find the silver lining and just make some meaning out of this. It will make you stronger.
So, Deanna, would you say that you've always been a positive person, like an optimistic person?
No, I say that I'm going to die a disappointed optimist.
Is that what you say?
Yeah. Is that terrible?
It's honest.
It's true though. Like, I think my humor has always been grounded in like pessimism. Like when you look at stand-up comics, they're so self-deprecating, right. And in no way am I a comic. They're brilliant and have a lot of, I don't know. I couldn't do it. But I'm just saying my personal like comedic flair or flavor is grounded in a lot of like negativity. But that's how I find humor, and that's kind of how I deal with life. But with that said, I am optimistic at the end of the day because I have to be. For example, my job.
Life didn't stop when your house, you had to evacuate, but you still had to go to work. You had to go and do all those things. Life doesn't stop when the shit hits the fan for any of us.
Right, exactly. And like even with my job, for example, unfortunately, just with how things are and working for like a county entity, and a lot of times you'll get people that will come into the hospital, and I want to be careful how I say this. There's always a reason why people are there. Sometimes it's their secondary gains, like living. They don't have a place to live. So
Right.
They'll say whatever they need to say to get into a psych hospital. And no matter how hard you work, unfortunately, a lot of times people just aren't ready to accept the help fully, or they don't have the resources to accept the help. And so you'll see people come back time and time again, and it gets really, really draining because you feel like, God, I'm doing my best, but the system is just really struggling here. But if I wasn't optimistic and I didn't feel like there was still a chance for at least one person, like I wouldn't be able to drag myself to go to work. You see you get what I'm
absolutely.
saying? Like,
I think that people working in mental health, also people that work in the teaching field, any of those helping type situations, there always has to be that hope.
I still am very hopeful, and I still have optimism. And I think that's also why I do so well in jobs that are like surrounded in crises. Like I've been working in the ER. I worked in an ER for 3 years and then went to another ER. And then now I'm in a psych hospital. Like other than like emergency personnel and law enforcement or military, like it doesn't get any more serious or scary, than working in a locked psych unit or the ER. I mean, seeing death and carnage and sickness every single day is terrifying. But if we weren't positive or optimistic or hopeful, personally, I wouldn't be resilient enough to like continue going to work. So for sure, I do think that I have optimism in me. And I say all the time that my Instagram, the Hilarious Humanitarian Instagram, is like a reflection of who I would want to be all the time. Just nothing but like positivity and love and jokes. And for me, like when I log off, I do struggle with being that positive all the time. But I'm human, so.
Right. And I think that that's important for us to share too, because there needs to be an understanding. I get that sometimes too. People have said that when I'm on the air, because I've worked through a couple of divorces. I've worked through the loss of my mom and job changes and things, and I can't bring that with me to work. Mm-hmm. So you have to find it someplace. Mm-hmm. And kind of as we're wrapping up the podcast, the reason why I asked you if you were naturally an optimistic person is because there might be someone listening that's like, okay, that's all fun and games, Frances, Deanna, whatever, but my life has sucked. This is the way I've always thought. This is the way everybody thinks around me. And how can I change it? And for that, I'm gonna nerd out a little bit with you, some science here. So our natural way of thinking, you can consider that like the expressway from home to work. It is the fastest route you have figured out down to the minute of how you can get there, right? Those are called neural pathways. And we get really good. And let's pretend that's your negative thinking, right? Like you can get any situation, you can get to negative thinking real quick. Mm-hmm. Like someone disappoints you. Oh, this isn't going to work. You mess up. Oh, I'm a failure. That is your expressway. Now, the great thing about the brain is that it's plastic, right? Like it can change. You really can teach an old dog new tricks. So let's pretend there's construction on that expressway. And now you have to find a new way to work. You're going to go the wrong way. You're going to start driving and be like, oh, fuck, now I can't go that way. That road's closed. You're going to have to find a new way. And eventually you're going to find a way that's efficient. And that's going to be your positive thinking. And sometimes you might accidentally go the other way and you're like, oh, no, that's not the way to go. And so the reason I bring this up is you can learn a new train of thought. You can become a more positive person. It is annoyingly complicated and takes forever. But for myself, I had to tell myself, well, it took 30 years to get this way. Mm-hmm. So why not put in the work to find that new expressway. And I really bring that up to people. You can change your thinking. Your brain's amazing that way.
I love that analogy. And I'll take it a step further. It's like, if we've been given this one road to travel down, presented this one road, and, for the beginning and most of our life, we've been traveling down this bumpy, unpaved, horrendous road that is causing a lot of friggin' problems for our car.
Mm-hmm.
The shocks are going out. We keep getting flat tires.
If you had CDs, it would be skipping.
It would be skipping for sure. Your water's going everywhere. The cap flew off. There's water, whatever. And because that's all we've known, it's just like, oh, I guess we're going to go down this bumpy road again. If we start asking questions and seeking alternatives, we realize, hey, there might be actually a smoother road down the way. It might be a few miles away. It might take a little longer to get there, but when you get there and you start traveling on that road, it's better for you. It's better for your car. You get where I'm going with this.
Right, exactly. So it takes some work.
It does take some work, and it takes some seeking out. So many people, like in the mental health field, will just assume that what they know is the answer and that's it, and nothing else kind of exists outside of that box. And listen, as you ask people questions, sometimes that can even be confusing or frustrating, because a lot of times people don't give us the right answers, or it could be misleading. But that's why I always talk about the importance of being your own advocate, because people are not going to show up at your front door with all of the answers. You have to be an active participant in looking for resources, in looking for ways to improve, and looking for ways to protect yourself, your family, whether that has to do with your mental health, whether it has to do with a natural disaster and trying to rebuild, whether it has to do with having a medical crisis and being in the hospital. Like, everyone's just, like our past episode said, you do you. Everybody's just doing them. So you need to seek alternatives and support that isn't necessarily right in front of your face, but it doesn't mean it's, a country away from you. It could be next door. It could be a neighbor that you've never had a conversation with, that you just need to reach out and talk to them. And all of a sudden you have this connection with these other humans that make it feel less daunting or isolating. Before the podcast ends, I do want to jump to one other topic in terms of dealing with these fires. And I've talked about it before on Instagram about when traumatic things happen, whether it's a shooting, whether it's a disaster, limit your exposure to the news. Even when the Las Vegas shooting happened, I will go on my Instagram and encourage people to just not listen to the news, because it's so traumatizing. You're just exposing yourself to traumatic images over and over again. And I had to remember that, because when we evacuated to my dad's house, the news was on all day long. And eventually I was just like, dude, you have to turn this off. I'm baking cookies and now I'm going to watch Teen Mom OG, and that's it. That is it. Even though Farrah is more traumatizing on Teen Mom than like fires at times. I can't do it anymore. Turn the shit off. I cannot do it because it was causing so much anxiety. Like, I don't even drink. I'm not in recovery. I just don't like the taste of alcohol. And I got to a point where I was like, do you have whiskey in the house? Because I need to take the edge off. And then I just realized, like, you know what? No, that's not going to help anybody by me getting intoxicated. Just, I need cookies and I need you to turn the news off pronto now. So that's what I did.
So as we wrap up, there's a couple of things to take away. One, you can learn new ways of thinking, and that could include, like we said, kind of retraining your brain, also to reach out to those resources and be your own advocate. I love that. That's something that I tell my kids on a regular basis. You really do need to be able to recognize your needs and speak out for them. And the other thing is, always know what the thing is that you're going to grab if your house burns down. And Deanna, I am like so disappointed in myself. I don't have a jar of pickles and I don't have any cookie dough in my house.
God, you're really not living. What are you doing?
Apparently not enough.
And also, I just want everyone to know that as the smoke clears and my house remains in the next couple days, we do release all of our new episodes every Friday. I don't know, this is something we haven't even discussed between you and I, but maybe we can even release this a little bit early just because it's so fresh right now. And I also want everybody to know that I will be kicking it up into high gear about the fundraising efforts. I'll be posting things on the Instagram, Hilarious Humanitarian. So if you are interested in donating, if you're interested in donating your time, if you're interested, if you have a business and you want to donate some products, please let me know. Just DM me, Hilarious Humanitarian on Instagram, because this right now is like a Bethany and I, it's a 2-woman show just currently in Ventura, and I know it's going to take a lot of work. Bethany told me there was like at least 450 families that have been impacted in terms of their house burning down. I'm sure there's a lot more. Don't quote me on the statistics because it's so fresh and there's still fires burning, so I have no idea what the accurate numbers are, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I think that our community is going to be able to come together and help people out in a really positive way.
All right, this has been the Hilarious Humanitarians podcast. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe, and we love those 5-star reviews. Those are awesome.
Yeah, thank you. We've been reading the reviews, and I am just seriously blown away by the overwhelming amount of support and love you guys have shown us. So please continue to tell your friends and family about the show, subscribe, rate us, and get us back on that top 200 list. Support the underdogs.